Hello and welcome back to Boxing Social in association with Betfred. My name is Ayman and I'm here with the one and only Jamie Moore. Jamie, a very interesting and unique dynamic in the gym right now that you're going to be very busy in this next few weeks, but also you've got specifically two fighters who are training to fight and down the line in the short to mid-term, possibly could claim undisputed status, claiming all the belts in their divisions, in the same division on their side of boxing as well. So very interesting dynamic right now at the gym.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Obviously, not many fighters get the opportunity to fight for the undisputed titles in any weight division, and fortunately we're in a position where I've got two fighters at super lightweight, one a male, one a female. One's already world champion and he's in a unification tournament, and the other one is mandatory challenger for the undisputed champion himself. So yeah, it's exciting times, and it's great work. They've actually been working together, and Jack's been helping Chantelle spar for this fight, so it's great to watch, and it's nice to see them all develop and helping each other out.
Let's start with Jack first. Jack's got that interesting proposition because it's not a singular world title, it's the undisputed titles against the fighter who's just won them, an English versus British clash as well. But how's Josh kind of been in these weeks leading up to preparing for Josh Taylor? So how's Jack been?
Yeah, I mean, he's waited so long for his opportunity, and I think there's been 3 different world champions in the time frame that he's waited for his opportunity. But we had a discussion back before when there was asking, when Jack was mandatory for Ramirez, whether he would step aside and let Josh Taylor fight Ramirez, with the promise that he would get the chance to fight for the undisputed titles. So he'd waited that long up until that point. It was a bit of a tough decision for him to make, because he was like, I've already waited 2 years, why do I want to keep waiting? But then the promise of fighting for the undisputed, or the prospect of fighting for the undisputed title, sort of made sense then. He went, you know what, if I've waited this long, I may as well let them both box each other, and then I get the opportunity to fight for all the marbles. So it was a bit of a risk, because then you just don't know what the winner's going to do. But thankfully Josh Taylor stuck to his word, honoured his word, and fulfilled the obligation of fighting Jack. And here we are, and it's such an exciting time for Jack. As I say, he's waited patiently for so long, and his big opportunity's here now.
What's it like managing the fighter who's also trying to manage that situation? Because that can't be easy. There's potentially, your motivation might wane because you think you might never get that opportunity. So what's it like kind of watching him and just kind of keeping him, letting him know that he will get the opportunity when obviously we can't tell the future, so you yourself won't know for certain, but that's the aim you're looking for.
It's difficult, and managing fighters in the gym is one of the biggest tasks for a trainer. Not just coaching them and talking tactics for individual fights, just sort of keeping them motivated and keeping that routine, momentum, keeping them focused. It's a little bit easier with Jack because he's so disciplined and dedicated. I mean, going back to the beginning of lockdown, as soon as we was allowed back in the gym, Jack's been in here. He spars every week, Jack, and just to keep his eye and people talk about he's been out of the ring for a long time, which he has, and will sort of ring rust play a part. But even if it does play a little part, it's going to be nowhere near as much of an impact, because Jack spars and he's active every single week. So people struggle to get the distance and timing back when they've been out of the ring for so long. But that's because a lot of the time they're not in the gym, and they only come in the gym then for 10 or 12 weeks leading up to a fight. Jack's never out of the gym, and he spars on a weekly basis, and he doesn't take that many punches because he's so defensively inept. But he will not struggle with ring rust because of how active he is all the time.
You said they're talking about tactics. What's it like preparing for you and Jack, preparing for someone like Josh who's so adaptable in the ring? We've seen him improve. We've seen him carry power as well, break opponents down, get that finish. What's it like preparing for someone who is now the undisputed champion?
Well, it's not easy, but it's also exciting, because this is the reason why you're in this sport. Is from a competitive point of view is you want to challenge yourself against the best. Certainly I know that from a fighter's point of view, and Jack certainly wants to do that as well. Tactically trying to break it down is more difficult because fighters at that level don't make as many mistakes. So the big thing is, what I've been saying to Jack is, when you get your opportunities in this fight, you have to take them, because they don't come up as often as they would have done in fights previously. But you know, as I've said before, I've no doubt Jack is more than capable of not just competing in this fight to a good extent, but of winning the fight. People haven't seen the best of Jack. I think the better the fighter, the better you'll see Jack's performance. And you know, going back to when Jack was at 18, 19 years old, he was in Las Vegas sparring with Mayweather and Canelo. You know, he was part of their camps, and that's invaluable experience. So 10 years down the line, if and when Jack Catterall becomes undisputed world champion, it won't be a surprise to him or me. It might be a surprise to a lot of people, but I know his background story. I know the experience he's got. I know the type of fighter he is. I know how good he is. I've seen him in the gym week in, week out. So it won't be a surprise to us, but you know, it might surprise a lot of people.
You said there about like taking opportunities and taking chances. Is it when you look at tape of Josh and preparing Jack for him, is it glaring holes do you see, or is it because it's at such a high level, it's just those little kind of things, those percentages that...
There is no glaring holes with someone like Josh Taylor. If there was, he wouldn't be undefeated and he wouldn't be an undisputed champion. But he's been... What's been beneficial for us is he's boxed at such a high level since he turned professional, that when you're in with better fighters, they present you with more problems, and being presented with problems then shows your weaknesses. The only thing is, Josh, a lot of the time, he sort of fixes himself. So he adapts and he changes, and then he sort of stops you further down the line from making the mistakes what he did earlier on. So then you've got to be versatile and adaptive as well. So we have to have every base covered for this fight. It's not an easy job, but if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, wouldn't they? So we're in a situation now where Jack's got the fight. I've sat down and we've analysed it, and we've looked at all different things. We're well on our way to sort of implementing the different little game plans and tactics what we're going to have. But a big part of it is being versatile and being adaptive. You have to be able to change your style and tactics like that.
There's also the element of the fight week that Josh kind of goes, what's kind of now known as Hank mode, and he kind of gets really into an intense state and kind of really kind of almost gets aggressive in that fight week to kind of put off his fighter. Do you believe Jack? I mean, speaking to him, he looks very kind of laid backish kind of character, but do you believe he's ready to handle something like that? Yeah,
I don't see any issue with that. I understand why Josh does that, and many fighters do it, because it's not even, I would say, to try and intimidate your opponent. It's just to make sure you're in the right mindset to go to war, basically. But Jack's a really mild-mannered, relaxed, cool, calm, collected sort of person, and I feel like he'll, even under that type of intensity where Josh is trying to sort of use his bravado and maybe try and intimidate him, he'll just be laid back. He'll be like water off a duck's back. It won't affect him in the slightest, because that's just the type of person he is.
Moving on to Chantelle, but keeping with Jack for the moment, because this is going to apply to both of them. What's the kind of one piece of advice that you'd want to stick in both of their minds as they both go on their kind of respective journeys to try and get undisputed status?
Two things really: keep focused and enjoy it. Because when you're enjoying something, it's not like hard work, and it's difficult to enjoy a hard fight. But if you've trained for it and you condition to the best of your ability, then it can be enjoyable. I know I've been there. I've done it myself. But staying focused in terms of, by the time you get to the fight, you don't have to think about the tactics what you've implemented, because we'll have drilled them that much that it's become second nature. So the main thing is just staying focused, make sure your mind's on your job, and enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Chantelle is 10 days away. Hopefully, there's been some news about Dylan White pulling out with a shoulder injury. Hopefully, that fight continues. I don't know if you've heard anything about that.
I've not heard if it's off for definite or not, but okay. I'm assuming that the fight will still go ahead, or so the card will still go ahead, because it's so close to the fight now. You know, everyone's had a full training camp. If it was a month before the fight, then maybe it'd get postponed, but I can't see that happening, and I'm sure the fight will go ahead.
Hopefully Chantelle does get that opportunity 10 days away. But Mary McGee, both you and Chantelle got the opportunity to kind of meet her and see her in Leeds, and I assume you've also seen the tape on her. What do you make of Mary as the opponent here for Chantelle?
Yeah, good fighter. She's strong, can punch. So Chantelle has to be real careful. But I don't see her having the same attributes as Chantelle in terms of hand speed. I think Chantelle punches as hard as her, and she's more accurate. She's more versatile. She's more adaptable. So I don't see. I think the only way Mary wins the fight is by knockout, and I don't feel Chantelle will give her those opportunities. She'll fight when she needs to, and she'll box when she needs to, and she's shown in the past that she can be really, really good at sticking to tactics. And she did it when she won the world title, because we knew that was a risky fight in terms of the size of the opponent, because she missed weight and she could punch as well. So Chantelle's good at sticking to tactics, and Mary McGee will come with a lot of pressure and really force the fight on Chantelle, but she's more than capable of coping with that.
Sometimes when fighters win the world title, they can kind of go two ways. It can really kind of motivate them and want to push on for more world titles, or they can kind of, the old proverbial is the silk sheets part of the game. What have you seen on a day-to-day basis that makes you kind of know for certain that, I'm not saying she is, but that Chantelle still has that fire because she's captured the world title already? Yeah,
you can see the excitement surrounding her around these fights coming up now. You know, she's so excited about being in this competition to find an undisputed champion. And you're right, a lot of the time when someone wins a world title, it's like, I've achieved what I've always set out to do. But Chantelle's been more dedicated and more ambitious now than she's ever been after she's won the world title, which is the sign of a fighter who would go on and win world titles at different weight divisions. She's that type of fighter. She loves the game. At the end of this competition, when she becomes undisputed champion, will she go, right, okay, I want to do it at welterweight, or will I drop back down and try and challenge Katie Taylor for all the marbles at lightweight? Because she's still capable of making lightweight. We only moved to super lightweight to get the opportunity. So yeah, there's different options. It all depends on Chantelle. But at this moment in time, she's got more fire in her belly than she had before she won the world title.
And what about for you? Because you could potentially be the trainer who's trained possibly 2 undisputed champions, if it kind of goes your way. No one could. A lot of people like to do on social media, like this, kind of sling the insults about trainers, this, that, and the other. But no one could ever put a check mark against you if you were to come out on the winning side of both these fights.
Yeah, and I said this before. I don't have ambitions as a trainer, because my only ambition is to help people out, and it started out with Tommy Coyle, just helping him out as a favour. And if I keep my mindset on that, then you'll always do the job in the right way. So I just like helping these guys try and achieve their goals. So it doesn't matter to me what their goal is. It might be to win a Central Area title or a British title, but I just like trying to help them achieve their goals. So I don't even like that term where you go, as a trainer, or you're an undisputed champion trainer. Just means nothing to me. And so I'll always do this, because regardless of what my fighter achieves, the next fighter will be somebody who wants to win a Central Area title, or wants to get themselves out of a bad situation and provide a roof over there for the family. Or I was in the amateur gym last night while I've opened up in Warding, just training the young kids, so from 9-year-old, and I'm in there teaching them how to hold their hands up and throw a straight 1-2 without dropping their hands, because I like helping the kids out. I want to give them the opportunity what I had as a kid and try and get them to change their life. So it's absolutely not about world title, winning world titles or ambitions of world domination. It's ridiculous, that thought, to me. My only concern is helping people out, and to the extent where I was giving away my time last night for free in my own gym to little 9, 10, 11-year-old kids, try to teach them to throw 1-2, because that to me is success. So these kids who've got nothing, in 10 years time, when I see them a better person and a better member of society, who've got manners, who've disciplined, who've got a structured life where they probably wouldn't have, and I've had a little impact on that, that's success to me.
There's a great level of groundedness in that response there. Jamie, where did that come from?
Salford. Honestly, probably from where I've been brought up. My mum and dad are always working class people, surrounded by good people. I've always been fortunate enough to be surrounded by level-headed people who've been successful but never got carried away with that success. So you're a product of your environment, and I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by very good people who've been successful but never got carried away with success, and I think it's dead important, and I think it's dead important to show that to younger people growing up as well, because as my mum used to say, no one likes to show off.
Fair enough. Let's get some updates on a couple more of your fighters. Tussenbai Kalakmet, what's the latest with him?
Yeah, he's boxing on the 29th, so he fights the night before Chantelle at York Hall, Bethnal Green. I've got 3 guys on that bill, so he's top of the bill, and I've got Lerone Harrison, who's making his debut, which is Oliver's son, and Sean McGoldrick's on there, his first fight in a couple of years. So I've got a busy weekend next weekend. I've got 3 on the Friday and Chantelle on the Saturday. So yeah, Turson's up against I think he's called Ureo or something. He's a bit of a big puncher. He's lost when he stepped up to the highest level. So you know, I'm more than confident that Turson can pull off a big performance, because big things are expected of Turson, and rightly so. He's a very, very talented lad, great lad, got a good sense of humour, can only speak a little bit of English, but he's slotted right in with the guys here, and I'm expecting a big performance. They wanted fighting for the world title within about 7 fights, they said, which is lofty ambitions, but for somebody like him it's not surprising because he's such a talent.
Rocky Fielding?
Rocky's out in Dubai the 26th of November, so he was over here actually. He did a couple of weeks over here training. His son wasn't too well, so he's gone back home to train over there, and Danny Vaughan's going to look after him in the gym over there in Dubai, and then I'll just go over there for the fight. So he's been sparring Badu Jack, and by all accounts he's been going really well. So yeah, he's back out. First one for a while again for Rocky, but he's got to deal with D4G Promotions over there in Dubai, because he's living out there in Dubai with his family now. So he's based over there, so he's just going to come back here for full training camps, but it didn't really work out this timing wise because of the problems back at home, so he's gone home, and we'll just get out there for the fight. And
Akib Fias?
Akib's struggling with a bit of a niggle on his hand at the moment since the last fight, so he's been to see a specialist yesterday. I think they've done a scan on it, and depending on the results, depending on where he'll go, maybe he's just got to rest it for a few more weeks, or whether he might need surgery. So hopefully he won't need surgery, because that'll put him out until sort of February or March next year, but fingers crossed it's not too bad.
I'll get your thoughts on some things in the wider boxing sphere before we close this out. Someone you know well, having prepared for him in one of your most recent fights, Jamal Herring takes on Shakur Stevenson. A lot of kind of hype around Shakur Stevenson, and if he comes through Jamal Herring, it'll be the best win on his record. But Jamal, as you know, poses a lot of problems, even to someone of the talent of Shakur. We saw that with Carl Frampton. How do you kind of see that fight going?
Yeah, it's a good fight, real good fight. What a nice person Jamal Herring is as well, really, real good guy. Shakur Stevenson's a hell of a fighter, really, really good fighter. Solid all rounder, can punch, can really box. Same as Jamal. So, you know, stylistically, they're not a million miles apart. You know, tall, big southpaws. I think Shakur shouldn't underestimate Herring. I know that Shakur and Carl Frampton are totally different fighters. Carl's much smaller, totally different style. Obviously, orthodox and southpaw. So it's a different problem for Herring as much as it is for Shakur Stevenson. It's a big step up, I feel, for Shakur. Whether he can handle it or whether Herring, people looked at Carl and say in the fight with Herring saying, Carl's coming towards the end of his career and stuff. But Herring's, I think, older than Carl.
Yeah.
But he's probably preserved a little bit better because he started boxing later. So he's probably he's probably a young 34, and it's a great fight stylistically. I think it's going to be a really good fight. If I had to pick a winner, I'd probably go Shakur.
Okay.
But not with any sort of confidence.
Mm-hmm. As well, I want to get your take on Fury Wilder 3. We saw the end of an enthralling trilogy. The take I want to get from you is, you being a trainer, there's an interesting dynamic there because Malik Scott was drafted in as a friend and as a coach for Deontay Wilder in this third fight. But the lines were breached between the trainer and a fighter in that there was a instruction to which fighters do or give to trainers to not throw in the towel, but that seemed almost like an adamant thing that couldn't kind of be changed if Malik Scott was going to come in, which he did do. Is that right for a fighter to give that instruction and have it adamant?
It's a fighter's right to say that without a doubt, and as a coach I would sort of welcome it, because then you know that your fighter is 100% dedicated to the fight. Right. That doesn't mean that the trainer doesn't do or shouldn't do what he's supposed to do, which is protect your fighter. Fighters are the bravest people in the world, and sometimes they protect him from themselves. So, it's all right promising not to do it, but was he willing to stand there and watch Deontay Wilder die for the sake of something what he said to him beforehand? I don't think that should be something what someone should do. Maybe Wilder was saying it in sort of out of bravado because of what he said in the past about wanting a body on his record and stuff like that. Maybe he sort of come back to bite him where he didn't want to be pulled out because he'd said that about somebody else. I don't know, but I feel our jobs as a trainer is not just about coaching and about getting tactics right. These people have got families, and it's our responsibility a lot of the time, and the referee and the doctor, but I don't feel like it should ever get to that stage if it's going. If the fight, a referee is in a position where if the fighter's hurt and out on his feet, he can jump in and stop it. But if he's getting continuously beat up and his chance of winning is virtually zero, then it's the trainer's responsibility to save that fighter from himself. What's the point in just being brave and just being brave and just being brave? I want those fighters not only to go home to the wife and kids or the families, the mums and dads. I want them to be able to enjoy life 20 years after a boxing career, 30 years after a boxing career, not have no memory or have problems later on in their life caused from boxing and being caused from allowing a fight to just go on for the sake of it going on. What's the point? I don't even think boxing fans want to see that. Boxing fans don't want to see just see someone getting beat up. They want to see a competitive fight. I'm not saying that happened in Fury Wilder. It was a very competitive fight. It wasn't until the last 2 rounds, I'd say, where he looked like he was out on his feet, and you would even think about going, listen, you finished, your chance of winning this fight is gone. What I'm saying is, in general, boxing fans don't want to see someone just get beat up. They want to see a competitive fight, and when it gets to the point where there's a conclusive winner, then get the guy out of there. What's the point in leaving him in there? Yeah,
that was what you sort of half answered my next question that I was going to follow up with. Did that fight, from your eyes, verge onto that point where the towel could have and should have?
It was just about getting there, yeah. So I wouldn't say he should have or shouldn't have. He sort of he got a little bit uncomfortable, and you sort of was going, I can see him getting knocked out here because he's sort of virtually spent, and Fury wasn't. But and then the end happened. But he did get a little bit like, oh, he looks like he's on the verge of getting stopped here. You know, but I don't think it ever actually got to the stage where you would be stood there screaming, going, "Stop the fight!" You know, it's never nice to see that.
Moving on to the other side of the British interest, that being Anthony Joshua, who looks like he's doing a US tour. He's been to see Virgil Hunter, Eddie Reynoso, Ronnie Shields. What do you make of the potential change that Anthony Joshua could make in going over to the US and finding something different there with trainer-wise, and the potential of linking up with any of those three?
I don't think from a training point of view, I don't think he should or needs to move away from Ron McCracken. I think he's got everything there what he needs, but if he feels like he needs to move, then he needs to move, because you're never going to perform to your best if you've got those thoughts and feelings in you. And I'm, guessing, I really don't know the situation, but I think maybe it's not even a case of just leaving Rob McCracken. I think it's a case of getting out of this country. Maybe there's a lot of pressure on him. Mm-hmm. He's under a magnifying glass constantly. So maybe it's a way of him sort of going, or maybe it's a motivational thing. We're going, you know what, I really don't feel like when I'm over here I want to be pushing myself, or I've got that drive and determination anymore. So maybe he's gone over there to see if it sort of reignites the spark in him. Mm-hmm. But maybe he's got to the stage where he's achieved so much, financially he's so secure. He's looking for something to reignite him when he's probably not. It's not possible to do, because he's achieved so much and he's done everything he needed to do in the sport. Mm-hmm. There's no shame in losing to someone like Usyk whatsoever. He's a phenomenal fighter, and even if he loses in the rematch and then goes, right, I'll walk away, no one can ever take away what an unbelievable career he's had and the impact he's had on British boxing. So just from a purely boxing point of view, it's probably a psychological thing. He wants to change the scenery, go out there, maybe freshen up. So I don't think it's an actual, in terms of Rob McCracken's ability, I don't think he needs a different type of trainer. I just think he might just need a change of scenery.
Jamie, let's leave it there. I appreciate your time. I wish you all the best in this busy period that you've got coming up with your stretch of fighters who are going to be out very soon. So thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.